Hey guys, what's up? This is David from CommonRDW here, and welcome to a video where I'm going to be talking to you guys about my personal impressions of Star Wars Outlaws so far, because shout out to UbiSoft, I'm part of the UbiSoft Creators Program, so big love, big shout outs to them for even allowing me to get my hands on the game so early, ahead of its release in late August. A couple weeks ago, I got to do a remote gameplay session with UbiSoft where basically I just connected to their remote servers and got to play the game on my own personal computer, played with controller, played with an Xbox controller, got 4 hours with Star Wars Outlaws, so that was really cool. So I'm gonna now get to tell you guys a little bit about my experience with the game. This one's gonna pretty much be, since I can only have 20 minutes of gameplay on the screen chopped up at a time, I'm gonna basically use as much of this 20 minutes as possible to talk about my impressions of the game in general as someone who follows Star Wars kind of loosely. Like, I've seen the prequel and the original trilogy. I haven't seen the third set of movies yet. I've seen Force Awakens, but I haven't seen the other two. I haven't really played Star Wars Jedi. I haven't played Star Wars Force Awakens. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan in the grand scheme of things, realistically. But I do know, like, you know, the Force, Jedi, Sith, the Empire, Darth Vader, like pretty much anything that can put into Fortnite, I know a bit about. So I'm not completely ignorant on most things Star Wars, but I am pretty lost when it comes to a lot of the terminology. So that's just like a little bit of background on my Star Wars history, in case anybody watches this and they're just like, oh, he's not talking too much about certain things in the Star Wars lore and the grand scheme. I'm mostly just a dude who really likes the world of Star Wars and the vibes of Star Wars, and being able to play a game where I'm not really someone that's on the Sith or on the Empire or in the Jedi or anything like that. This one's more so you're just a person that's just trying to get by in the scummy criminal underworld of the world of Star Wars, kind of like how Han Solo was and Chewie, like a character kind of in that realm where you're just taking jobs, you're a bounty hunter, you're like a smuggler, you're doing all that type of stuff, and it's just a fun third-person action adventure stealth game. There are stealth elements in Star Wars Outlaws. It's really cool, but yeah, let's just get into some of my general thoughts, and I'll kind of like bundle things together in certain parts, so I'll try to timestamp as appropriately as possible. But we'll start off with, so to get things started here, in Star Wars Outlaws, you are playing as a female protagonist, so that's cool for once to be, I don't know, getting that different perspective as a main character. But you're playing as Kay Vess, who is pretty much a scoundrel. That's the thing that you're going to hear a lot in the game. They're going to call you a scoundrel, they're going to call you a bounty hunter. You're going to be pretty much just like one of those characters in this game. And then she also has her little animal companion that looks kind of like a cross between a dog and an axolotl, named Nyx. Super marketable, super adorable. Nyx is a very important aspect to the game, rather than just being like, this is my Disney princess equivalent, like, support character that I gotta have with me, you know? This is my companion, but also Nyx is really good at distracting characters, hitting switches for you, reaching things that you can't. Basically, Nyx is pretty much your third arm in the game. Like, if you can't do something and you see something you want to do, there's like an interaction menu where you can pretty much tell Nyx to go somewhere and interact with things. So in the beginning, it's a little weird to try to like deal with Nyx and get used to using him, because pretty much there's a button you can press and that'll just bring up a cursor of where you can put Nyx and different ways that Nyx can interact with things. And it's a little distracting at first, but then once you get used to it, you're kind of like, all of a sudden you're doing it all the time to try to figure out what Nyx can interact with, whether it's like, oh, I see something over there, there's a person, maybe instead of taking Kay over there, I have Nyx go over and maybe pickpocket that person or attack them and distract them, and then I can hit them in the back of the head and they'll get knocked out. Nyx is a really cool addition to the game, and it's not just, they're just not there for set dressing or just for like an extra character slot, you know. They're actually very helpful, a very useful tool that you're going to probably be teaching Nyx different tricks and doing other things like that throughout the game. So that's going to be really cool. I look forward to being attached to Nyx, just as much as I look forward to learning more about Kay Vess, the main character of the game. You don't really get to know too much. Well, at least I haven't gotten to know too much about Kay with my limited time with her. Like I said, she's just basically trying to make herself a somebody in this galaxy far, far away, you know. The game starts out, you wake up on this ship that is basically her Millennium Falcon. It's not called the Millennium Falcon, it's called the Trailblazer, which I think is a pretty cool name. Like it kind of has that same little bit of cheesiness to it, like the Trailblazer, my ship, where I blaze the trail in space, you know. So you wake up on the Trailblazer, and then you end up meeting this dude named Waka, who is pretty much a mechanic, the gearhead for your crew. I'm not sure if he ends up sticking around long into the game, but in the amount of time that I played, Waka was a very important player in the story. Basically, he's just like, hey, I can help you fix your ship. You just got to get some parts, and to get some parts, you got to get jobs to get money. So to get money, you got to go and talk to this person, and once you do that, give them my name, and they'll probably help you out. So you have to go to this town, which you have to get there by a cool like speeder bike that you have, where it's pretty much like it's basically a motorcycle, just space motorcycle, and you get a rideable vehicle because the open world is very huge. Like it's big enough where it's not like a huge open world, but it's just big enough where there are going to be a couple fast travel points where you're going to want to travel, like maybe from the stop, like the departure point of the ship to where you can go to the town and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of little like points of interest in this open area too, where there's like people that you can do speeder bike races against, or there's like a whole bunch of like secrets you can find, like going into like interiors of like abandoned buildings, or there's even like caves that you can walk through, or if you see like a mountain on the horizon, maybe you can head over to that mountain and see if there's like a climbable path, and then you'll be able to uncover some cool secrets up there, get some cool vista shots and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. Just gives you a little bit more to do instead of just going from point A to point B and making the game really linear. So that's a cool part of the open world. And then inside of each of these main hub areas, like the towns and things, that's where a lot of the criminal underbelly, you know, that's where a lot of that happens. Where there's bars that you got to go to, and different like stores and shops and merchants. There's all sorts of things in these towns, these main hub areas, and they're very bustling too. Like if you've ever seen a Star Wars film, you already know like the towns are very active. There's people all over going to like different stalls, going to stores, people having conversations as you're walking down the street that have nothing to do with what you're doing, but you kind of want to maybe just sit to the side and listen to characters as they're speaking, because you never know what you'll pick up. And then when you go into the bars, it really has that just like that space vibe where you're just looking around, you're seeing all the different people that are in the stalls, you're trying to like look around and see what people are doing. You can walk up to a bar and you can just lean, and then some characters will start talking to other ones and you can eavesdrop, or you can just take in the vibes as well. But then there's certain rooms in these hub towns where pretty much you don't have access because you're not a part of these different criminal factions. There's like 4 major ones that I guess you'll experience in the story: the Pike Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn, the Hutt Cartel, which yes, Jabba the Hutt is in the canon of this game as well, and then also the Ashiga clan, which is a clan which is the 4th faction that I got to meet in my playthrough time. But they were more like on the back end. They were kind of I had maybe an hour in the area that they're in to get to know them last, but I guess they're a little bit further in the game than like the earlier factions you'll meet. So then in order to get jobs and things, you end up meeting this person named Danka, who is pretty much just like the person to know if you want to know people, right? It's like she's able to hook you up with your first couple jobs, hook you up with the people that you got to know, and you're able to get the parts that you need for your ship in order to actually make it airborne and space worthy, which is really cool because this game also does have space travel. It's not No Man's Sky, where it's basically no loading times between surface in space. There is that loading time hidden behind breaking through the atmosphere. But I mean, when you're in space, there is space combat to be had, which is really cool. The Trailblazer controls really well. You can turn on your boosters. You can actually, I think they took a lot of the things they learned from Star Wars Squadrons into play, or Star Wars Squadrons, with the ship combat, because it feels really good. There's like a auto follow feature where it's like if you lock onto somebody, you'll basically be following right behind them, so you don't have to frantically keep like adjusting your ship to be right behind someone as you're shooting at them. Like your ship will automatically follow them for like your rockets and stuff and your blasters. That's really handy. But then still there's a lot of like pivoting and like looping around things and dodging a whole bunch of debris and stuff in space, so that's really awesome. And I really enjoyed what I experienced so far from the ship combat as well. Looking forward to getting in more ship fights and also upgrading my ship and having just more powerful weapons on there. That'll be really cool. But of course, the main part of this game is being on the ground and doing that third-person shooting and that stealth action combat. Yeah, this game does have stealth action in it. Honestly, I don't want to say it's like Uncharted, because it's not quite like that, but I mean, if you play a third-person shooter, you've played a third-person shooter, you know, where it's there are certain areas you'll go into and the area will be restricted, so you'll have to crouch and hide and maybe like be more stealthy than you usually would. You're gonna have to maybe put your blaster away and just do like some hand-to-hand takedowns, or you're gonna have to use nicks to distract people and move them out of the way of other things while you use other stuff. You also do have your blaster, which does have multiple functions as well, where you can either have it doing regular blaster stuff with like the red laser, but also you can set phasers to stun, and you can stun people also. So that's kind of cool. So it's not just constantly shooting, you can be a little bit more strategic with it and go maybe like non-lethal, but just stun people instead of actually just shooting them. And the environments are pretty varied as well. There's a lot of different corridors and very detailed and dense environments as well. You're going to be going through vents. You're going to be navigating through like the back alleyways of different like condensed warehouses and areas and things like that. But also you'll be going through like Empire ships with stormtroopers running around, and then it kind of feels like you're playing like the movies, where there was a part where we had to break into an Imperial area, and there was just a lot of stormtroopers running around, and it's like you ended up turning on an alarm, and then a whole bunch of stormtroopers like run past you as you just take cover behind like a box or something, and it's really cool just to see those little touches there. That's really awesome. But it is also funny how the whole thing of like stormtroopers can't shoot does seem to be accurate, but also sometimes if there's a lot of them, you can get overwhelmed, so you got to be a little careful with your stealth. The writing is really good. I will say that I'm really enjoying the writing. Just getting the perspective of a lot of different characters, getting to know all these different characters. Who's going to be an enemy, who's going to be an ally, who should I keep an eye on, who should I try to work with more than others. There is also another big thing of this game is because of the different factions, there's kind of like I wouldn't say like a morality system, but it's more like a trust system with the different factions, where it's like maybe you'll be doing a lot of missions for the Pike Syndicate, but then there's an opportunity that'll come while you're on a mission where it's like this will benefit the Crimson Dawn, but it'll also hinder the Pike Syndicate. So then if you do this one thing, you'll go up in favor to one faction, but then the other one, it'll probably stop liking you a little bit less than the other one. So there are certain areas in the overworld hub areas, or like in the towns, where there's certain areas, like I said, that are restricted. You can get into those areas, but you're going to have to be a little sneaky about it. You're probably going to you can't just walk through the front door, because there's usually guards in certain restricted areas, so you might have to go through maybe like a vent or like a back room, and then go around, and then you're going to have to just sneak your whole way around without getting caught. And if you do, then they pretty much just kick you out. You got to start all over again. But it's not like anything super major, but it's just like a lot more convenient to at least have the most basic favor with most of the factions, so you can at least walk around their areas a bit more. But the more missions you do for certain people that are in favor of certain factions, then you'll be able to unlock more areas, but also you can unlock certain cosmetics and like gun parts and things like that for being in favor with certain factions more than others. So there's definitely a replayability situation going on here, where it's like maybe in this run I'm really in favor of the Ashiga clan, but then on this other run I'm more in favor of Crimson Dawn. Or I even asked my demo person, I was like, hey, is it even possible to get in high favor with every faction? And they were like, yeah, it's possible. It's a little tricky, but it's definitely possible. So that's something that I'm interested in checking out as well. Like I said, I'm not really huge in the Star Wars lore. Like, I haven't watched Clone Wars. I haven't watched, like, The Mandalorian or anything like that. I don't even think, like, most of that stuff is even relevant, since it's probably, like, completely on a different part of the galaxy, maybe, or something like that. Maybe a different time frame. I think they said in terms of canon, the game is, like, after Episode 3 or after Episode 6. And then between that and Force Unleashed, I think that's the time frame, like Empire Strikes Back or whatever. I think, I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know the name of the movies off the top of my head, but I definitely believe if you like Star Wars in terms of the lore, this will definitely give you something to like a lot. Since we've already gotten like 2 Star Wars Jedi games, do I think that this could probably get a sequel? I don't know yet, because I only played 4 hours, but I definitely know that this game does have my attention, and I will be rolling credits on it, because just being an outlaw, being a scoundrel in the world of Star Wars, and getting to see like more of that vibe of it, it's more like fantasy than it's a lot more fantasy than I feel that I'm more interested in the world of Star Wars, because I like the vibes. I like recognizing races of characters. I like recognizing certain side characters and just understanding this world, but just wanting to be in the vibes of it all rather than following something that's contextual to the story in the grand scheme, you know? So it seems like Ubisoft has a good deal on their hands with this. I'm really excited for Star Wars Outlaws once it comes out in late August. But yeah, check out, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this gameplay while I'm talking over this. I'd like to make more videos like this in the future, so hopefully Ubisoft will work with me in the future for other gameplay opportunities, or hopefully you guys will just listen in when I talk about things that I played before. So thank you so much for listening, you all. Shout out to Ubisoft and the Creators Program for allowing me to even play Star Wars Outlaws early and even talk about it like this with y'all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you later. Bye!